Welcome back to Blsd Stories. I'm your host, Mr. Blsd, and today we're going to talk about what is probably my closest encounter with death. Now, after surviving this incident, I understand that what I did was wrong, and I'm truly happy that I got out of it alive. And I really advise everyone to not do what I did at home or anywhere else for that matter. So let's begin with the story. The story begins many years ago during my long trip in South America in a very distant little piece of land in the middle of the ocean called the Galapagos Islands. The Galapagos are a unique group of islands that are situated in the middle of the Pacific Ocean and as a result have a very extraordinary biosphere with unique animals that evolved differently, some of which are extra friendly to humans. In addition to the amazing nature on the island, it is just as good under them. The archipelago is packed with amazing dive sites in which you can almost certainly see a long list of big animals such as whale sharks, schools of hammerheads, manta rays. Wait, what did I just say? You can have a dive surrounded by schools of hammerheads. Not only that there is a dive site called Gordon's Rock where you can experience just that, but it is also probably the only place on Earth that is easily accessible to tourists such as me. Oh my god, I have to do this. I know I probably won't ever come back here again. I have to do this. Now, the place that I learned it all was in the first diving club I got into, and the catch of the story is I don't have a diving license. I never dived in my life. The only reason I got into the dive club was because I was traveling with this friend of mine named Roy, who was just a Dutch guy I met a couple of days before. And he had an open water diving license, so he was like checking about dives and I just accompanied him. We learned that the sharks are usually at a depth of 30 meters and that it's a very long boat ride from shore, so that in general it costs a shitload of money, or at least it was a lot for me back then. So I asked, well, what if I don't have a license? What are my options then? And I was told that in that case, I can do only one dive instead of two, that I can go only to a depth of 10 meters instead of 30, and that it will cost the same amount of money because their expenses are the same. No way. Not only that I don't get to see the hammerheads and do one dive instead of two, but I also have to pay the same price? No way. My Jewish soul just can't take it. No way. I felt like I just have to do it. I won't have another chance. And Roy really wanted to do it with me as well and not do it by himself. So we continued to the next diving club. And in the next diving club, I said that I have a license. And then they said, what its number? And then I said, okay, I don't have a license. But then we went to the third diving club, and there I said again that I do have a license. They asked me for its number, and then I gave them Roy's license number. And then they were like, okay, no problem. See you there. See you at 9 a.m. Now, I started this video with advising you to not do it back home. And in most cases, in most places in the world, it just won't work. But hey, this is South America. So boom, on the next morning, me and Roy are on the boat heading to the dive site. During that long boat ride, Roy is trying to teach me everything I need to know in order to survive. Now, since then, I already got my diving license, and I really advise you all to do it too. But I will try to explain it to you as I understood it back then, you know? So, lesson number 1. I'm going to get a certain vest, it's called the BCD, and this vest is going to be full of air. And in order to submerge, I have to push a button in order to get all the air out. Lesson number 2, the deeper I go, the higher the pressure gets. So I will start feeling a pain in my ears, and in order to fix that, I have to pressurize by exhaling through my nose and keeping it closed. Lesson number 3. I'm going to get a certain gauge that shows me the depth and the amount of air that I have in the tank. The depth meter is obvious, not much to learn there. But the air consumption starts with 200 bars in the tank, and by the time I get to 50, which 50 to 0 is like the red zone, I have to already be up or on the way up. And the fourth and final lesson that I was taught is that once you go deeper than 18 meters, it starts getting dangerous, okay? Because you might get decompression sickness. Now basically what happens is that once you go deeper, your body starts filling up with nitrogen. And if you go up to the surface too fast, that nitrogen gets like released in your body and you might die of it. Now in order to prevent this, you have to stop for 3 minutes at a 5-meter depth. It's called a safety spot and you have to do it. In addition to that, Ray taught me all the like basic hand signals so that I can somehow communicate underwater. He taught me that this means going up, this means going down, this means everything is okay, and this means out of air. And that's it. That's all I knew before my first dive. Good luck. Needless to say, I was kind of stressed, very stressed. Roy himself had only an open water diving license, which is up to 18 meters. So he also never been to that deep of a dive. So we're both kind of nervous and we're decided to like approach the dive instructor before the dive, and we're telling him like, listen man, we both like haven't dived in a while and like maybe we should do the first dive chill and like you know, refreshing our memory line. To what he answered, sure, it's your money. So the first dive was supposed to be just like a 10-15 meter relaxed dive. Everybody are starting to gear up and suit up, and Roy is trying to do it really slowly and like show me everything he does so that I can mimic him without letting everyone know that I have no idea what I'm doing. At a certain point, the dive instructor, from now on I'll call him Juan, approached me and asked me how much weight do I need, to which I cleverly replied, I don't know, how much does it look like I need? Overall, all this gearing up experience just demonstrated to me how much I have no idea what I'm doing. Eventually, we all got geared up and we all like had to fall backwards into the water, which is a scary experience to do for the first time on its own. And then for the first time, I inhaled from the inhaler. And it worked. Everything was fine. That gave me some confidence. And then the time has come. Juan shows with like the right hand gestures that we're going down. And I clicked a button in order to like get all the air out of my BCD, but I am not submerging. Everybody already went down and I stayed at the surface alone. And I'm like, fuck, what the fuck, what the fuck? And then after a long minute of me being alone, Juan comes back up and asks me like, what's wrong? And my only clever answer was, I think I need more weights. So he got more weights and attached them to me. Looking back, now that I do have a license, I think that the reason I didn't go down was because I still have my lungs full of air. Okay, Roy forgot to tell me that I have to also exhale the air from my lungs. So no matter how much weights I was getting, I still like kept my lungs full of air, so I couldn't submerge. And even with the extra weights, it was still not enough. So what I did was actually swimming my way down. Now, every diving instructor that sees somebody just like swimming his way down, that should raise some like big red flags. But hey, this is South America. So we are underwater, we get to about like 10-meter depth, and it's the first time in my life that I'm in this like marine environment. All around me I see fish, plants, corals. It's amazing. I successfully pressurized my ears from the first time, which was great. I kept looking at my gauges to see that like I have enough air and so on. Everything was good. And then I start feeling elated. Oh my god, it's so fucking cool and amazing! All these fucking first world losers paying thousands of dollars for a license for what? Idiots, you can just tell them you have one. fuck yeah! Everything is cool, everything is awesome, I had plenty of air. We go back up to the boat, everybody are chilling. I'm so happy. Roy is so happy that everything went smoothly. Confidence is booming, everything is awesome. Time for the second dive, which could have been the last dive in my life. Now, anyone that has been diving knows that usually in dives you get paired with your buddy. And in this dive it was me, Roy, Juan the instructor, and some Italian dive master that joined us for this dive. So Juan decided to pair himself with the dive master up front, and me and Roy are together in the back. In addition, this time Juan told us that once one of us reaches 70 bars of air, we have to tell them, because that means we'll have to slowly start our way back up. This time we went 30 meters down straight away, meaning I had to do a lot more pressurizing, but hey, it all worked fine. Soon after reaching 30 meters, we start seeing the hammerheads. Now, this is a 6-meter shark. Super impressive animal, and you see a lot of them. Really fucking cool. What nobody told me is that every 10 meter deeper you go, the pressure is rising by 1 atmosphere, meaning your air consumption is twice as fast. And even without that, me as this being my second dive in my life, my air consumption is really bad as it is. I'm overexcited. I don't know how to save up my air. So pretty soon after we reach that depth, I already see my gauge on 80 bars. Okay, so I decided that I'm going to be extra safe, and I'm going to tell Juan about it immediately. Juan was with the other diver just about 6-7 meters in front of us, and although at this point I'm a horrible diver, I'm still pretty decent swimmer. So, and I'm starting to swim to him, and I see that I just can't reach him. I'm using more and more strength, and I still can't reach him. Later I learned that the reason the sharks are staying at that depth is that at this depth there is a certain current, and the sharks are just staying on the current. So actually all this time I was really fighting against the current. Not a good idea. And then all of a sudden, at some point, I feel that I'm not getting a full breath of air. Like I am taking a breath, and in the middle of the breath, I stop feeling like something is getting into my lungs. Okay, I'll look up at the gauge and it shows 40, like it's in the red. This is the exact point of the story where the story turns from being a fun and amazing story to being a, oh my god, fuck kind of story. I panicked, okay? Now, every diver that has a license knows that every diver has an additional hose that is called the octopus, with which he can give air to a fellow diver that just ran out of air. But even if I did know that, making that switch between the two hoses for the first time in my life under 30 meter depth is kind of risky and dangerous on its own. So as far as I knew, my only way out was going up, straight up, okay? The second that I start going up, Juan finally turns around and looks at me and he's like, what the fuck, where are you going? And I'm like, I don't have air. I knew that signal. I don't have air. What goes through my mind now is that according to what I understood from what Roy told me, the air in my body now is toxic, okay? And I have to get it out and get in more oxygen from a lower depth, okay? So the way I'm breathing on the way up is to get the circulation going, which makes the air consumption even worse. The last time I looked at the gauge, it already looked pretty close to 0. And at some point I remember, even though I was getting closer and closer to the light, I was starting to see darker and darker, and I stopped feeling my legs at all. Okay, and then in the maybe last possible second, I reach the surface. I take out the mask and everything. I take a huge breath of air, and I feel absolutely nothing. Okay, I don't feel that anything is going inside me. The way I breathe is like in retrospective, I understand that my lungs were like really shrunk from the depth, so that even though I was getting air in every breath, I did not feel like I'm getting any. So at this point, even though I'm at the surface, I am basically drowning. I cannot breathe in at all. I'm like constantly, I have all this gear and extra weights that are bringing me down. I don't have any air in my tank in order to inflate the BCD so that I can stay afloat. The boat wasn't even looking for me, okay? I was like just alone in the open sea, struggling not to drown, taking in a lot of water and basically drowning until Roy came up and like helped me. He didn't want to die, so he did do the safety stop at 5 meters. He helped me survive, and then he helped me get on the boat. And even on the boat for the next like 15 to 20 minutes, I was still breathing like Only reason I didn't die is because I finished my air so fucking fast that I just didn't stay at that depth for that long. Okay? Otherwise, there's no way that I could have survived. To be honest, it could have been even worse than death. I could have got decompression sickness. In that case, they would have put me in like a decompression tank or chamber or whatever they call it. And that can cost like hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, it's not such a big deal if you're insured, but because I don't have a license, so I didn't have insurance, so basically I could have ended this story with hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt, even worse than death. What's the moral of the story? Do your fucking license. Though I did get this amazing tattoo from the experience, and I didn't suffer any permanent brain damage, so I guess it was worth it.